a cluster and you just kind of nod along, not 100% sure if they mean keeping a website from crashing or finding secret patterns in data? Yeah, you're not alone. It's one of those tricky words that means two totally different things. So let's dive in and get this sorted out.
Right. Before we can jump into the really fun stuff, like how does Spotify know you need a new playlist, we've got to clear up this basic confusion. Because understanding the two different worlds of clustering is absolutely the first step.
And here they are, side by side. On one side, you've got server clustering. This is like a team of computers all linked together, ready to back each other up, so your favorite app never goes down. But on the other side, that's cluster analysis. And that's all about playing detective with data, trying to find the hidden groups inside. So to be super clear, a high availability cluster, sometimes called a failover cluster, is all about being resilient. It has one job and one job only. If one computer hiccups, it immediately passes the work to another healthy one. The goal is dead simple. Keep things running, period.
So while that first type of cluster is about grouping computers to keep things stable, the kind we're going to focus on from here on out is about grouping data to make discoveries. So when we say cluster, we mean we're about to bring some order to the chaos. I want you to imagine you've got this giant spreadsheet, okay? Thousands of customers, but no labels, no categories, just raw data. Where would you even start? How could you possibly begin to understand who these people are? Well, that's exactly where cluster analysis shines.
And here's the core idea. We're basically asking the computer to look at all our data and just sort it, group things together based on how similar they are. The really amazing part is we don't tell it what the groups are supposed to be. It has to figure that out all by itself. This is what we call unsupervised learning. It's like I dumped a huge box of Legos on the floor and just said, organize these. You wouldn't need instructions. You'd just instinctively start putting the red ones together, the square ones together, and so on. You'd create clusters based on their natural properties. That's exactly what cluster analysis does, but with data that might have hundreds of different properties.
So how does a computer actually do that sorting? Well, one of the most famous and honestly most intuitive methods is an algorithm called K-Means, and its whole strategy is to find the center of gravity for each potential group.
Let's walk through it. First, you have to give it one piece of info, how many clusters you're looking for. We'll call that K. The algorithm then plops K random center points into your data. Next, every single data point gets assigned to whichever center it's closest to. But here's the clever bit. The algorithm then recalculates the center of each new group, moving the point to the true middle. And then it just repeats that process. Assign, recalculate, until the centers stop moving around.
Now, this reveals the big catch with K-Means. It's really powerful, but it has a very specific worldview. It basically assumes that all the groups in your data are nice, neat, roundish blobs. If your data is arranged in weird shapes, like rings or long squiggly lines, K-Means is gonna have a really tough time. And that weakness perfectly sets the stage for a totally different approach. What if instead of looking for the center of a group, we just look to where the data is, well, crowded? This is the whole idea behind density-based algorithms, and the most famous of the bunch is called DBSCAN. See, DBSCAN couldn't care less about centers. It defines a cluster as simply a dense region of points that's separated from other dense regions by empty space. And right away, this gives it a superpower. It can automatically find points that don't seem to belong to any group and label them as noise or outliers. It works with just two simple rules. First, you define a distance, called epsilon, that creates a little neighborhood around every point. Then, you set a minimum points threshold. If a point has at least that many neighbors inside its little bubble, it becomes a core point, the heart of a cluster. Any point that doesn't and isn't near another core point is just an outlier. Simple as that. And this is a total game changer. Remember how with K-Means, we had to tell it how many clusters to find? DBSCAN doesn't need that. It figures out how many clusters there are all by itself, just by looking at the data's density. That makes it an incredible tool for exploring data when you have no idea what structure you're even looking for. All right, let's put these two head-to-head with a classic problem. Here we have data points that form two circles, one inside the other. To our eyes, it's obvious, right? There are two groups, the inner ring and the outer ring. So how are our algorithms going to do? Oh, in K-Means, it fails spectacularly.
Because it's trying so hard to find two central points and minimize the distance to them, it just does the only thing it knows how. It draws a line straight down the middle. It completely misses the real structure because these rings are not the blob shapes it was expecting. But look at DBSCAN. It absolutely nails it. It sees the inner ring is a dense area, and the outer ring is another dense area, and there's a big empty gap in between. It doesn't care about the weird shape at all. It just follows the density and finds the real pattern. This is exactly what we wanted it to do.
Okay, so this is all cool with circles and dots on a screen, but where does this stuff actually show up in the real world? Well, it turns out cluster analysis is one of the quiet, unsung heroes of the modern world, working behind the scenes pretty much everywhere.
I mean, the applications are just all over the place. Companies use it to segment their customers into different groups based on how they shop. Social networks use it to find communities of friends. Recommender systems, like on Netflix, put you in a cluster with people who have similar tastes to suggest what you should watch next. It's used in medicine to find tumors and scans, to identify objects in photos, and even to spot credit card fraud.
There's this fantastic quote that floats around in the data science world that really gets to the heart of it all. Clustering is in the eye of the beholder, and what that means is that there's no single best algorithm. The right choice depends entirely on what your data looks like, and even more importantly, what question you're trying to answer.
So, the real takeaway here isn't just about one algorithm. It's that cluster analysis is a whole toolkit. The art is knowing when to use a tool like K-Means, which is fast and great for simple groups, and when you need something like DBSCAN that can handle complex shapes and find the weird outliers. It's about picking the right tool for the job to unlock the stories hidden in your data.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Think about it. The music you stream, the websites you visit, the groceries you buy, your life is constantly generating data. If you could point these tools at it, what surprising patterns, what hidden groups would you discover about your own world?